So I still never really know who she's referring to, but anyway. So this is the big tutorial room. This is the room that's like, talk to all these people, talk to Mr. Know-It-All, and the Pokemon Trainer School to learn about how to play video game. I'm not going to do that. I am just going to take the materia, though. And this treasure chest. And then we're going to pop a save after I talk about the materia system. So, like I said, the turn-based combat in the game is very basic, very bog standard. Look at her. Oh yeah, I just bought a materia. That's why. But the unique, again, once again, look, Tifa just joined us. She's level 5, so she's an even lower level than Barrett was when he joined. Anyway, so the turn-based combat in this game is like very bog standard. It's very basic. It's pretty much the same ATB combat system that Final Fantasy has had since Final Fantasy IV. But the kind of unique gameplay system that sets this game apart is the materia system. So, remember how I talked about the stats? The stats aren't really important, and that is because you can re-spec characters with materia. This will be easier to explain later on once I have more materia, because right now we don't actually have that much, but look at these stats. And then we're gonna, first of all, we're gonna fucking equip a better thing on him. And then let's look at the stats after we equip some materia. So if you look at the materia lineup, it has equipped effect. So not only does the materia give you different spells, so like you need the fire materia in order to cast fire magic. You need the lightning materia to cast lightning magic. You need restore to cast the healing magic, that kind of thing. But it also affects your stats. So if you look, if we equip the restore materia, now we have less strength. Or like it has a different percentage effect, or like -2 maximum, -2% maximum HP versus +2 maximum MP. So once you have a lot more materia to work with, you can change what the character's stats are. It also is a lot more dynamic of a change later on, because right now 2% of what even is our HP? 300. 2% of, 20, or 2% of fucking 9. Our dexterity is 9, for fuck's sake. Our attack is 40, right? Like, 2% of that isn't a big deal, but later on in the game, once you're a higher level, it starts to make a better impact, and as you level up the materia, as you can see, the materia has like those empty stars, to next level, 200, 2500. As you level up the materia, it has a bigger impact on your stats when you equipped it. So, basically what this means is the characters kind of have no personality whatsoever in terms of their gameplay stats, because you can completely change all of their stats based on the materia you equip them with. It's a little bit hard to explain just based on what we've seen so far, and again, this is like the beginning of the game. But the characters basically don't have any classes. None of the characters are a black mage, or a white mage, or a tank, or a monk, or a red mage, because you can just equip any given character with any given loadout of spells or other materia effects. Like I said, it'll be more apparent later on, but the materia system is like this game's unique gameplay system, and it kind of only serves to, like, to a degree, it opens up the ability for player expression to an extreme degree. Your Cloud will be, by the end of the game, will be very different from my Cloud, will be very different from someone else's Cloud. Because you have complete customizability. but it also means none of the characters have any real personality to them that's unique in terms of their gameplay. You're not going to have a Kain, or you're not going to have a not Kain, Cecil. You're not going to have like Cecil in Final Fantasy IV, who starts out as a Black Knight and then becomes a Paladin, and his gameplay completely changes based on the change that his character underwent as part of the story. You're not really going to have a dramatic change for a character's gameplay in that same way. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and pop a save. And, see whether or not I still feel like this was a good idea. Whether or not, I regret this decision. Okay, this hasn't suddenly struck me as a terrible fucking idea yet. So... Did I do this already? Yes. So this hasn't struck me as a horrible idea yet, so let's keep going with it. Let's keep going until it becomes very apparent that this was a mistake. There was a point where we should have stopped and we've clearly passed it. Let's keep going and see what happens. Johnny. Good old Johnny Bravo, leaving the slums. He's gonna go find his fortune out in the world. Childhood friend. What does that imply? I still... Empty nest syndrome. I mean, it's only been like 3 seconds. Toilet. It's only been a couple seconds, like... Give it some time. And you, Mr. I don't care. Anyway. So we have a full party now. Oh, I'll get to that in a second. So let's get into some battles. Like I said, the combat in this game is basic, it's standard, it's, you know, exactly what every other turn-based RPG system was up until this point. Oh my god. Why it takes so long to get into a fucking battle sometimes. But we do have our full party now, so we can actually show, like, in detail what's going on. So it's the ATB combat system. If you've played Final Fantasy, any Final Fantasy since Final Fantasy IV, this is the system they all use, which is instead of it being... frankly, I prefer, like, an even more classic type of turn-based system, where it's just like, your turn go, your turn go, your turn go. Frankly, my favorite, by far my favorite, combat system in any Final Fantasy game is Final Fantasy X. Final Fantasy X has the best turn-based combat to me in the entire series. I was never a huge fan of the ATB system. But the way it works is like, you got the bar on the far left there. Once that is filled up, that character takes their turn. So it's like, it's an active, that's what it stands for, it's active turn-based combat. But here's what I don't really like about it, is you don't really have time to, like, think about, like, okay, what do I want to do? Because as you're sitting here waiting, your other party members and the enemy's ATB bars are filling up. So while I'm sitting here thinking about, okay, what do I want to do? Now the enemy we're fighting is doing their attack, and it's like, I don't really have the time to, like, think in terms of strategy. You can change the option to be active or wait, and wait is where if you're opening up the item menu and scrolling through, then everyone's ATB pauses. So if you're opening up the item menu or the magic menu and you're scrolling through, okay, what spell do I want to cast? Now the ATB is paused. But if you're just lingering here, it is not paused. It is filling up, and it's like you don't really have time to think about what you want to do. So that's just not my preference. But that is how they all work. Again, since Final Fantasy IV. And like that's since Final Fantasy IV, it's been the same in every single game. Every single game that has the ATB system, it's using it in the same way. There is no mechanical difference between Final Fantasy IV, which used it back on the Super Nintendo, when it was first introduced, and this game, which is like some brand new highfalutin PlayStation game. It's the exact same gameplay as the old Super Nintendo game. So in terms of gameplay, there hasn't been any evolution or advancement whatsoever. In fact, there's a little bit of a step backwards, because in Final Fantasy 1 through 6, the max party that you can have is 4 characters. And in this, they scaled it back down to, no, wait. Did Final Fantasy 1 have 4, or am I thinking of the remake on the Game Boy Advance? Anyway, like, when they got to this, in Final Fantasy 6, you could have 4 characters. In this, they scaled it back so you only have 3 characters in your party. So in some ways, it's actually a step backwards mechanically from the gameplay of the series up until this point. The only new thing that this game adds that previous Final Fantasies didn't have is the limit break system, which is that bar next to the ATB, which as your character takes damage, that will fill up, and once it fills up to the fullest extent, you can do the character's limit breaks, which is just some big badass mamma jamma move, and every character has a different limit break. So, like, remember when I said before about the characters not really having a class, not having, like, anything separating them or any differences whatsoever because of how the materia system works? The limit break is really the only thing that distinguishes the characters from each other. The only difference between Cloud with the materia setup that you create for them and Barret having the same materia, because you can exchange a materia loadout in between characters. The only thing separating them and differentiating them is their limit breaks. But frankly, you don't really do the limit breaks all that often. It takes a long time for that bar to fill up depending on what point in the game you're at and what stats you have, and like the status that is inflicted on you. And frankly, a lot of them just do the same thing anyway. Like, there's really, like, most of the limit breaks just do most of the good limit breaks just do damage to the enemy that you're fighting, and that's usually what you'd want it to do. I don't know why this version of the game has that weird hitching sometimes. So frankly, like, when it came to, like, the remake, which is just Final Fantasy 15 combat, but less garbage, they mildly improved on Final Fantasy 15's combat system in the Final Fantasy VII remake, quote-unquote remake. So when it comes to that, it's not that, you know, the combat system that Final Fantasy VII had was sacred or anything like that. It's not like this is worth preserving, you know what I mean? Like I said, it's not really doing anything special. It's not really doing anything unique or important. It's just, if it ain't, my feelings on it are, like, they changed it to an active, like, Kingdom Hearts Final Fantasy 15 action RPG combat, my feeling is really like, why? Like, there was nothing wrong with Final Fantasy VII's gameplay. It was completely serviceable. It was like, it's turn-based ATB, turn-based combat in its purest form. If it ain't broke, then don't fix it. There was nothing wrong with this combat, so I don't see why they felt compelled to change it to an active battle system. That's just stupid to me. I don't know. The only argument is, turn-based combat's dumb. I don't like it. I don't like turn-based combat. And it's like, shut the fuck up. That's like not even, again, then don't play it, fucker. Like, why would you change the gameplay of a game to appeal to people that just were like, oh, we gotta reach the people. We gotta bring this story to the people who were turned off of the original Final Fantasy VII because of its turn-based. That's just so dumb to me. I don't see any earthly reason the remake couldn't just be the same exact turn-based random encounter combat system that this game had. It doesn't make any sense to me why you would change that. There was nothing wrong with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Oh, why'd I come in here? Anyway, I wanted to talk about the combat, and I was close enough to getting the limit break built up, so now Cloud's got his limit break for the next fight that we get into. So, little Mr. and Mrs. Wow over here. I've had it. Me too. Shall we? Teen suicide. I don't know if this is in the remake. I should look that up. I doubt it. Because the implication here is that these kids just fucking killed themselves. I don't know if you knew this, but this game was made in Japan. I don't know if you knew this, but Japan has a real fucking problem with suicide. How relevant. Why does it keep doing that? Is it because I'm recording? No, it does that when I'm not recording too. It's fucking weird. Just the random skipping and hitches. I love this part. Say something. I said you say something. Huh? Who are you looking at? What are you doing, Barrett? It got empty all of a sudden. Damn. Yipes. You work for the Shinra? Fuck, you lucky shit. Oh, Barrett, you literal actual terrorist. You're busting up my rhythm. My sick rhymes. Look at that. I don't care who you are, that is still impressive to me. That they have, like, shit moving in the static background. That the fucking background JPEG suddenly becomes a GIF and has motion while the 3D models are still overlaid on top of it. That will always be impressive to me. I don't care how far, like, you know, again, it comes down to people who are like, oh, this movie's in black and white, I don't want to watch it. You're dumb! Look how crazy that is! Anyway. Which Shinra is very proud of. We waited until noon to do this mission? Shouldn't we have done it, like, earlier in the day or something? I guess I don't know when the trains start. Again, this game made in Japan. Trains are a big fucking deal. Cloud, come over here and look at my massive tits. Oh man, I was mugged by Avalanche on the subway today. Come a little closer. Shove your face into my luscious milky tits, Cloud. Oh. Well, I guess there'll be time for that later. What happened? I'll explain later. Someone blew it. So you know how when you're starting a game for the first time and you're supposed to go right and you go left instead and you get shit for it? Well... just run, changing to plan 2. Don't use numbers to designate your plans. So, let's look at our gil. We have 1286 gil. So there's Johnny, by the way. There's Johnny Bravo. Hee hee. And now we've got 1186 gil. So he stole 100 gil from us. What an asshole. Hey, guess what, asshole? You're stuck. Give me my fucking money back. Johnny, goodbye, Midgar. Oh no, look at these shivering naked men. Look at these shivering naked men. That scarecrow made me take the bomb. Any idea what happened? All I know is when I woke up, all three of us were butt naked. I guess he couldn't relate. Kind of an easy-to-miss little detail about the fact that Avalanche just stole some Shinra dudes' uniforms. Do I look good in a Shinra uniform? Yep, you look just like a man. I think. Scary, huh? Why'd you come along anyway, Tifa? I mean, what? Do you think you can suplex a train or something? You ain't no Sabin. And you'll never be like Sabin. Sabin. Whatever the fuck his name is pronounced. Whee! Time to jump out of this moving train like a fucking idiot. Yeah, so this is Avalanche's great disguises. We got Hasidic Jew with Biggs. Jesse's dressed up as a Shinra dude, and then Wedge is dressed up like a child in overalls. Great disguises, idiots. That'll let you get right into the reactor. Yeah, really? This is the plan? This was the plan? Seriously? Don't tell me that everything's going to plan, because that's making me realize that you guys suck at making plans. Okay, let's walk into your body. And then, boop, we're Cloud again. I like that that's, like, in-universe, that's what's happening, is they're going inside of each other's bodies in order to, like, be up the party. Again, because of the simplistic graphics, like, it leaves so much to the imagination, and it also allows them to kind of embrace the, not the realism, but, like, it allows them to, like, sort of embrace the absurdity. Yeah, that's the word I was thinking of. The absurdity of how they're able to depict these actions that these characters are taking based on the adorable character models and what they do. Speed it up here a little bit. So that's one of the things that the PS4 release does, is it lets you like activate emulation states, so you can speed up time to 3 times speed. You can disable random battles, so no matter what, you will never get hit with a random battle. And then you can I'll let a random battle happen and show it. You can activate, like, basically overpowered mode, to where if you take any damage at any point, it'll automatically heal, and all of the characters are at their limit breaks at all times. So, like, every turn, they have their limit break. Like, the damage automatically heals no matter what. And then I'll show, like, Barrett just used his limit break, and now because the little indicator on the left there is activated, boom, it immediately fills back up. Beat rushed. Ora, ora, ora. You're dead. You're already dead. I'm gonna try not to use those, because it makes, obviously, having a mode that basically makes you immortal and allows the characters to use their most high-powered, like, desperation attacks on every single turn, basically lets you sleepwalk through the entire fucking game. And you don't want to turn on no random battles, because it's a turn-based RPG, JRPG with random battles. You need those for your level grinding. You shouldn't be trying to avoid random battles. You need that XP. No, I want to get in the fight. You're Avalanche. Yeah. So to further what I was saying, like, none of the characters really have classes in this game. There's none of the characters you're going to open up their stats screen and see, like, this character is a black mage. This character is a warrior. This character is a white mage, or a red mage, or a blue mage. A lot of mage. However, like, and that's because the materia system basically invalidates the entire concept of classes, because you can customize every character with anything. However, the characters are still kind of designed with that in mind, sort of. Like, I don't know what that says about when certain design decisions were made, necessarily, but again, let's, like, check. There's no class. None of them have a class. Like, Cloud is not a warrior class, but he was an ex-soldier, and he uses a fucking sword. A giant-ass sword. Barrett has a gun for an arm, which means that because of his weapon is a long-range weapon, we can have him be in the back of the party, and he'll still hit for full damage because of his ranged weapon. Tifa is not called a monk, but she does fight with hand-to-hand combat. She just runs up to motherfuckers and punches them in their goddamn face. So it is kind of... And there's another character later who's, like, really the most... Just the most... white mage-esque character, even though you can spec her to be, a tank. You can spec any character to be any class you want. But based on their limit break and based on their design, you can still see like little implications about like what they were intended to be in terms of their orientation in combat. So that's what's kind of weird to me, is like, they have no class, they have no grace, but they have an ugly face. They have no style and they have no grace. No. They have no class, but they're still designed as if they were intended to fill a certain class designation. I don't know what decision was made when, but that just always struck me as a little interesting.